December 26, 2004. A beach in Sri Lanka. Tourists are sunbathing. Fishermen are heading out. Everything looks completely normal, except the elephants. Minutes before a wall of water would kill over 230,000 people across 14 countries, elephants working near the coast broke their chains, ran up to higher ground, and refused to come back down. No alarms had gone off. No warning had been issued. The elephants left anyway, and they weren't the only ones. Flamingos abandoned their low-lying breeding grounds. Zoo animals in Thailand refused to leave their shelters. Dogs on the beach were seen tugging their owners away from the shore, some flatly refusing to move any closer to the water, minutes before it turned deadly. So here's the actual question. How did they know? What did they sense that an entire coastline full of humans, with all our technology, completely missed? The honest answer is more complicated and more interesting than animals have a sixth sense. There's no single magic explanation, but there are several real, testable biological mechanisms, and once you understand them, you'll never look at a nervous dog the same way again. Let's clear up the biggest myth first. This isn't animals predicting the future. Nothing here is psychic. What's actually happening is that animals are detecting something physical, something real, that's simply invisible to us. We just haven't built the instruments to notice it the way they do naturally. Start with hearing, because this is the most well-documented mechanism. Many earthquakes and tsunamis generate infrasound, extremely low-frequency sound waves below 20 Hz, the lower limit of human hearing. We cannot perceive it at all. It's just silence to us. But elephants can hear frequencies as low as 5 Hz, and they use this ability constantly to communicate with other elephants across miles of open savanna through rumbles that travel through both air and the ground itself. When a major seismic event begins, whether it's an earthquake shifting tectonic plates or the underwater displacement that creates a tsunami, it generates powerful infrasound waves that travel outward far faster than the visible wave itself and far faster than we could ever detect with our own senses. Elephants may be picking up this sound or feeling the vibrations directly through sensitive nerve endings in their feet, sometimes minutes before the danger becomes visible to a human standing on the same beach. Here's where it gets interesting. Elephants aren't the only animals with this kind of sensitivity. Many species can detect vibrations through the ground with extraordinary precision. Snakes have organs specifically adapted to sense ground vibrations. Certain rodents show heightened activity before seismic events in laboratory studies. Even some birds have been observed changing their flight patterns hours before major tremors, likely detecting subtle shifts in the Earth's electromagnetic field or barometric pressure that precede an earthquake. Speaking of pressure, that's the second mechanism, and it might be even more universal than sound. Barometric pressure, the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on everything around us, changes measurably before major storms, and increasingly, research suggests it may shift subtly before seismic activity too. Many animals have inner ear structures that are dramatically more sensitive to pressure changes than ours. Birds are a great example. Before hurricanes, entire flocks of birds have been documented leaving an area days in advance, well before any human instrument detected the storm's approach. In 2014, researchers tracking golden-winged warblers found the birds left their nesting grounds in Tennessee a full 2 days before a massive tornado outbreak arrived, flying over 900 miles out of the storm's path before returning once the danger passed. Nobody told them a storm was coming. Their bodies simply registered the pressure shift and made the decision for them. Now let's talk about smell, because this one is genuinely strange. Some researchers believe certain animals can detect subtle chemical changes released from the Earth itself before major seismic events. Changes in gas emissions like radon or shifts in groundwater chemistry that occur as underground rock formations experience stress before rupturing. Catfish have been observed becoming unusually agitated in the hours before earthquakes in studies conducted across Japan and China for decades. It's not conclusive, and scientists are still debating exactly what mechanism is responsible, but the correlation shows up again and again across multiple independent studies in different countries. This is actually the part that trips a lot of people up. The evidence for animal disaster sensing isn't some fringe theory nobody takes seriously. China has run a formal earthquake prediction program based partly on documented animal behavior since the 1970s, and it had one of its most famous successes in 1975, when officials in Haicheng evacuated the city based partly on unusual animal behavior reports combined with other seismic indicators. Just hours before a major earthquake struck, tens of thousands of lives were saved. It remains one of the only successful earthquake evacuations in recorded history based on advance warning. But here's the honest complication, because this video would be dishonest if it oversold the case. Animal behavior as an earthquake predictor has also failed, repeatedly and significantly. The same kind of unusual animal activity reported before Haicheng has also been reported before earthquakes that never happened at all. Scientists studying this have found the correlation is real but inconsistent, which makes it genuinely difficult to build a reliable warning system around.
Animals may be sensitive to precursor signals, but those same signals don't always lead to a disaster. And sometimes disasters strike without any documented unusual behavior beforehand at all. So the fair, honest, scientific position is this. Animals are very likely detecting something real. Infrasound, ground vibration, barometric pressure shifts, and possibly chemical changes are all legitimate, testable phenomena that precede certain natural disasters. And animal sensory systems are frequently far more capable of detecting these signals than ours are. What's far less clear is how reliably that detection translates into consistent, predictable warning behavior we could actually build a system around. There's something worth sitting with here, though. For most of human history, we lived far closer to animals than we do now, and there's a reasonable argument that ancient humans paid very close attention to unusual animal behavior for exactly this reason. A community that noticed the birds leave and took it seriously survived more often than one that shrugged it off. That kind of attentiveness to the natural world around you wasn't superstition. It was one of the only early warning systems available for thousands of years before seismographs and satellites existed. We've built extraordinary technology since then. Technology that can detect earthquakes and track storms with a level of precision no animal instinct could ever match on its own. But there's a quiet irony in the fact that some of the animals sharing our planet still have access to signals our best instruments still struggle to interpret. Millions of years of evolution built sensory systems tuned to exactly this kind of danger, long before we ever thought to build a machine to do the same job. So the next time your dog starts pacing anxiously for no obvious reason, or your cat suddenly bolts under the bed with wide eyes and flattened ears, don't dismiss it too quickly. It's probably nothing. Most of the time, it genuinely is nothing. But every so often, across the long, strange history of animals and humans sharing this planet, that restless, nervous energy has meant something. And the animals paying attention to it ran.